Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Swarna Ma'am's Biology. In this video, I will be explaining you about absorption and assimilation in an easy and a simple way. So let us start. In our previous video, we have discussed about digestive system and even physiology of digestion. So here, I will be explaining you about absorption and assimilation and a small note on digestive disorders. We know digestion is the conversion of a complex molecule into a simpler molecule, means complex food particle into a simpler food particle. This simpler molecule has to be again taken back into the body through the bloodstream. So how the food particle will be moving through the wall of the alimentary canal. So absorption is the movement of the digested food particle through the wall of the alimentary canal again into the bloodstream. We call it as absorption. Why the food has to be absorbed? This absorbed food particle in the blood has to produce energy in the form of ATP. So, the absorption is movement of the digested food particle through the wall of the alimentary canal into the bloodstream for the production of energy in the form of ATP. We call it as absorption. When we see the breakdown of the food particles will be taking place in the duodenum of the small intestine. So the breakdown of the food particles will be taking in the duodenum of the small intestine, and absorption of the food particle will be taking place in the jejunum and the ileum of the small intestine. So after absorption, then undigested food will be sent into the large intestine, and it will be coming out to rectum, and it will be coming outside through anus in the form of defecation. Again, I will be repeating. The breakdown of the macromolecules will be taking place in the duodenum of the small intestine, and the absorption of the molecule will be taking place in the jejunum and ileum of the small intestine, and the undigested food will be sent to the large intestine, and it will be sent to the rectum, and it will be coming out through anus in the form of defecation. Now, when we see control and coordination of digestion, digestion and absorption involves neural as well as hormonal mechanisms. So, secretion of several gastric juices as well as intestinal juices involves a neural mechanism. And even the muscular activity of the alimentary canal also involves a neural mechanism. For example, when we see a spicy food or when we smell a spicy food, it involves secretion of several gastric juices along with saliva, so which is a neural mechanism. And even secretion of several digestive juices even involves hormonal mechanisms. So when we see absorption of digested products, there are three mechanisms of absorption, that is passive absorption, active absorption, and facilitated transport. Now we will define each and every absorption. So first, coming to the passive absorption, it will be taking place by process which is called as simple diffusion. So what is meant by passive absorption? It is a movement of the digested food particles from the high concentration gradient to the low concentration gradient through the wall of the small intestine without involvement of energy. We call it as passive absorption. So it will be taking place by simple diffusion, where the digested particles will be moving directly from the high concentration gradient into the low concentration gradient without involvement of energy. Examples: glucose, amino acids, electrolytes will be passing through the alimentary canal into the blood by a process which is called as simple diffusion. So coming to the facilitated transport, here the food particles, that is digested food particles, will be moved from the alimentary canal into the bloodstream through the wall of the alimentary canal with the help of some carrier proteins. When the food particles are moved with the help of the carrier protein, we call it as facilitated transport. For example, glucose, amino acids will be following facilitated transport. Now coming to the active transport, here the food particles will be flown from the alimentary canal into the bloodstream against a concentration gradient, means with the help of ATP, the food particles will be moving from the low concentration gradient to the high concentration gradient. So we call it as active transport. Here, water, amino acids, monosaccharides, and some electrolytes will be following what is called as active transport. So when we see the absorption, there are three mechanisms of absorption. That is passive absorption by simple diffusion, facilitated transport with the help of carrier proteins, and active transport with the help of ATP against the concentration gradient. When we see fatty acids and glycerol, they are actually insoluble in the blood. So what happens? These fat molecules will be combining with proteins and forms what are called as chylomicrons. And these chylomicrons will be absorbed into the lymph vessels or lacteals. Later, they enter into the bloodstream. Now, where this absorption is taking place at different places in our digestive system. In the mouth, certain drugs will be absorbed in our mouth. In the stomach, water, simple sugars, alcohol will be absorbed. So in our small intestine, glucose, fructose, fatty acids, glycerol, amino acids will be absorbed. Then when we come to the large intestine, water, minerals, and the drugs are absorbed. Now, there is another word coming which is called as assimilation. So before going into the assimilation, again I will repeat what is absorption first. So coming to absorption or defining what is absorption. So how we have defined absorption? Absorption is movement of food particles, that is digested food particles, from the alimentary canal into the blood through the wall of the small intestine, through the wall of the small intestine. It is called as absorption. So what is absorption? It is a movement of the digested food. After the food is digested, after it is converted into smaller particles, it has to be again taken back into the body. Means it has to be taken back into our blood. So this process, why it has to occur? It has to produce energy. Why we are taking food? It has to be absorbed. The food particles after digestion has to be involved in the production of energy. So they have to be moved. The digested food particles have to move from the alimentary canal again into the blood through the wall of the alimentary canal, what we are called as absorption. And after it is producing energy, after the food is absorbed, then what it has to do? That absorbed food has to be used for the growth of the cells as well as repair of the cells. So what we call it as assimilation. So here we are coming across the word assimilation. What is meant by assimilation? That absorbed food has to be used for the growth of the cells as well as for the repair of the cells. Then it is called as assimilation. So the food has to be taken in, it has to be digested, then it has to be absorbed, and it has to be assimilated. Why it has to be assimilated? For the growth of the cells and for the repair of the cells. Then when we see the signs of digestive system, signs of the disorderliness of the digestive system, when the digestive system is not working properly, there will be several signs which indicates that our digestive system is not working properly. So the first one is we will be getting a severe stomach pain. So the first one is the pain of the stomach or pain in the stomach, and vomiting sensation and nausea, loss of appetite, and bloating in the stomach. So these are four common signs when the digestive system is not working properly. Now, let us see what are the main disorders when our digestive system will not work properly. The first one is jaundice. So, in jaundice, what will happen? The liver will be affected. So, when the liver is affected, the main function of the liver is to produce Bile juice. The bile juice, what it contains? Bile salts as well as bile pigments. So when our liver is affected, that bile pigments which are produced by the liver will not be used for the emulsification of the fats. Then this will be deposited under the skin and even in some places like eyes. So what happens? It causes yellowness of our eyes and even our skin will become yellow. So what happens during jaundice? It causes yellowing of the eyes and even it makes the skin yellowish. So here mainly the liver is affected, which causes the deposition of the bile pigments under the organs like skin as well as eyes. And mainly it causes severe stomach pain and even vomiting. Yes. So now, discussing about another disorder which is called as vomiting. So, how can we define vomiting? It is the ejection of stomach contents through our mouth. It is called as vomiting. So, even a feeling of nausea also is an indication that our digestive system is not working properly. And this vomiting is also under the control of medulla oblongata of our brain, which is also called as vomit center. And another disorder of our digestive system is diarrhea. So, how can we define diarrhea? It is the abnormal frequency of bowel movement. Why it occurs? Why? Because there is increase in liquidity of the fecal discharge. So, because of the increased liquidity of the fecal discharge, there will be abnormal frequency of bowel movement. Then why it occurs? Because of the less absorption of the food which is digested, when it is not absorbed properly, then it causes what is called as diarrhea. So what happens during this? When there is more frequency of bowel movement or more fecal discharge, what happens? It leaves us dehydrated. And another most important digestive disorder is constipation. When bowel movement is irregular, then it causes constipation. What is constipation? When the feces is retained in our rectum, then it is called as constipation. It occurs because of the irregular bowel movement. Then another thing is indigestion. When the food which we take is not properly digested and when we feel there is fullness in our stomach always, then it means that the food which we take is indigested, what we call it as indigestion. Then what are the causes of all these digestive disorders? First one is there is inadequate enzyme secretion. The second one is when we take too much spicy food. It also causes some digestive disorders like acidity. And when there is a food poisoning, it causes jaundice, diarrhea, vomitings, etc. When we eat overly or overeating, also causes stomach fullness, bloating, or vomiting. And even anxiety also causes constipation and some digestive disorder. So let us summarize the entire lesson. The chyme which enters into the duodenum after it is digested, it has to be acted upon by the pancreatic juice, bile, and finally by the enzymes of the succus entericus, which we will be calling it as intestinal juices. Here, at last, in the duodenum, what happens? Carbohydrates will be converted into monosaccharides, which are like glucose, fructose, galactose, etc. And proteins will be finally converted into amino acids, and fatty acids are also converted into fatty acids and glycerol. And undigested food after digestion and absorption we know that is the digested food particles has to move from the wall of the alimentary canal into the bloodstream and it has to be assimilated for the growth and the repair of the cells, and some undigested food now enters into the cecum, and from the cecum it enters into the rectum and it will be sent out through anus. So this is the entire summary of our digestive system. So there are small suggestions which I will be making to the students to keep our digestive system healthy, so that we will be healthy. So the first one is drink lots of water so that we will be staying always hydrated. And the second suggestion is take little junk food or high calorie food which makes us active And the main important suggestion to the students at this stage is don't miss sleep during the exams. When you miss sleep during the exams, it causes release of several enzymes in our stomach and several juices. So even acids are also produced in the stomach, which cause several other problems. And every time when we take the food, only my suggestion is only take 3/4 of our, means fill only up to 3/4 of our level, so that we can be active. And the main important thing is toilet is our best friend. Why I am saying is, so we are taking the food, it is digested, we have studied it will be absorbed and it will be assimilated also. But there is some food which is undigested, and this undigested food we studied that it is sent to the large intestine, and it is coming out through anus. It is coming out through anus. So when we stop that, so when the undigested food is not coming out, it again causes several digestive disorders. So the undigested food which is stored in our body has to come out daily. So why I am saying is toilet is your best friend. So stop hating it. So the main suggestion is don't miss sleep during the exams and don't stress yourself, and eat nutritious food, good diet, stay healthy, stay safe, study well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this topic. So by now, by this video, we have completed the entire digestive system. In my first video, I have completed the digestive system, and in my second video, I have completed about, I have explained you about the physiology of digestion. In this video, I have covered about absorption, assimilation, and even about some digestive disorders. Hope you liked this video, you enjoyed this video. If you like, please give a like, share, and subscribe my channel, Swarna Ma'am's Biology. Until then, stay safe, take care, eat health, study well. Thank you.